hell is that? Empire Zone? Whatever that zone is. We got to get the rings.
Wrong guy. I love Sonic. I
remember that?
Messed up Tails the other week. I mean,
I know, I was here. That was Wednesday night. And now it's Tuesday
afternoon.
That
was with you. Shit.
And it's the PGA DFS strategy show from Awesemo.com. And I'm Ben Rasa. I am joined, as I normally am on Wednesday nights. We're going to be doing a little double duty. Get well soon. Jason Rouslin, our partner in crime, not feeling too well. But Eric Lindquist is here to break down all things Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Hello, sir. You got a new addition to the family, a awesome dog that I just got to meet. I'm sure you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, he's bouncing around right now. He's got to go out there with mom while she's on Zoom calls. I'm on Zoom calls. We're living the life over here. Just no sleep. It's like having a newborn, but very cute, and you wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, dogs are obviously awesome. So I'm here for that. We're here for golf takes, chat. Yes. Eckroat 210-1. We'll get to him later in the show.
Hey, Luke List. I hit one. I got one.
You did. You got one. Josh Engelman got one. A lot of people across the industry, Pat Mayo, many people on the Luke List bandwagon. Congrats. It's well deserved. Of course, I was holding a Will Z ticket, as I normally am. Not a big one, but I was certainly rooting for him. I like List a lot, though. Deserved to win. And just good for him. Just an awesome, awesome guy. And we're going to get into that and more, but we're going to start the show with our friends at Yahoo. As you guys know, we have partnered up with them this season. We're doing a lot of really cool things. They're doing a lot of cool things in their lobby, big time prize pools, different types of tournaments. And if you haven't been over there, you can get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum with the first time deposit and paid contest entry. We've been saying it for a while. There's no reason not to go and check out Yahoo. You can build the bankroll. You can play exclusively over there, or you can play it in conjunction with the other sites. It's just a no-brainer to at least take a look. We're going to be talking about them. Really soft salaries over there, Eric. I know you've talked about you can build crazy lineups that you just can't build at the other sites over on Yahoo.
It's the best site you can possibly play for your bankroll. They have the lowest management fees anywhere in the entire industry, period, end of story, full stop. I love being able to build over there. It's very Starsy and Scrubsy every single week. There's definitely going to be more of that as DraftKings and FanDuel have definitely gone to more balanced builds, being kind of the predominant deal, more security, less risk for some of these people playing, 150 lineups and whatnot. We're looking at Yahoo as a space where you can definitely have some fun building at the top end and the bottom end.
Absolutely. And we'll be talking about them today and tomorrow, but let's start to get into it. We've got some farmers to talk about. It was incredible. Luke List, the stones on him in the playoff, a hell of a shot, well-deserved. Will Z did not lose that tournament. I thought that was, you would know better than me. That looked like a pretty good putt on that last hole. He just got beat, and he's going to win probably multiple times on tour. It was just a well good fought effort. Jason Day was up there. Rahm was up there. What did you see at the Farmers?
A couple of things. So first of all, I got back from, I flew to Iowa for all of 10 hours to go pick up a dog and was trying to play showdown lineups. I was in Iowa where you're able to sports bet, and I was able to fire some futures on things. And I went a little crazy on some golf futures, and it ended up coming to fruition for me there. I had some top 5 tickets that I was sweating, and that did not go well. We had Jason Day, who ended up birdieing 18 with a nice putt and ended up being a top 5 blocker on Neiman and Rose, which were 2 guys that, I wasn't invested in before the tournament, but I felt pretty good at what I was looking at from Neiman, that I knew he would be up there. Rose, this is a golf course we've seen him play well on before, and I felt pretty confident in top 5 tickets for both of those guys. Got blocked by Day and was tilting, but List, my God, I bet him before the tournament. Could not be happier for the guy. First PGA Tour win. I bet him. I talked about him. He was my big stand at the Amex. I definitely was not leaving the train. Even a top 50 there. I don't even know what to say. Sometimes in a putting contest, if you don't putt well, it is what it is. And I just wasn't willing to not be invested in List again this week. Glad that ended up working out for me, for a lot of other people. But we've got a different situation on our hands this week. And, I know it's another coastal track, so to speak, and in 3 of them to make note of that as well. But I'm looking at the Farmers as something that's not going to have a ton of carryover to this one, except for maybe Jason Day.
Yeah, maybe Jason. It's good to get some reps. Obviously you get some insight into how these guys look, but I would agree. Torrey South and Monterey or whatever these courses are called, not the same by any stretch. But let's get to it, because unfortunately we are back to a 3-course rotation. We are back to celebrities. This is even worse with the pro-am nature of it.
Yep.
Saturday cut, top 60 move on. So these things are different than a normal week. We did just see this again. You get Pebble Beach twice, the other courses once. How do you attack it? And then we can start to dive into the courses and the skill sets.
So there's this golf tournament in November called the TaylorMade Invitational, where they play a rotation of it's a lot of pros go up there. It'll be like senior PGA guys, other whatnot. I didn't even know that this tournament existed until my best friend, my best man at my wedding, ended up winning the Monterey Open and got a spot at the TaylorMade Invitational. And they play a rotation of Spyglass Hill, Pebble Beach, and then they play Spanish Bay, which used to be the golf course in this rotation. Now it's MPCC, so Monterey Peninsula Country Club. My best friend lives up in the area. That's kind of where he's at. I caddied for him in that event, so it was really nice to get a firsthand look. I'm going up to go play Pebble for the first time in June coming up this year, so I'm excited. This is an area I'm in love with. I've gone to the US Open there when Gary Woodland won there. I was at every single day of that. This is just that I love, I adore. I think there's some people who are a little lukewarm about this event, and obviously the field isn't as strong as it's been in years past. But one thing I can tell you is all 3 of these are just phenomenal tracks. We're looking at a Robert Jones track at Spyglass Hill. We're looking at William Moore, a traditional golf designer. Obviously, Pebble Beach, pretty good little track, but don't sleep on MPCC. I think that's probably the prettiest of the grouping. And if you keep following that, I think it's 18 Mile Drive is the name of it. You end up at Cypress Point. We're talking about the most beautiful golf courses in the entire world up in this area. So I always enjoy it because it's an area I'm familiar with, that I go up and visit quite a bit, and just kind of looking forward to the golf here. And, it's a golf tournament I feel like I'm a little bit more in tune with than what the general DFS public is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the courses, they look cool on TV. I've never been there. They're for golf fanatic people. It's got to be bucket list, as I'm sure many people would love to play there. From this, I think that it's a little tricky because the wind is the great defense of some of these courses. They're very short and they're par 72s. Monterey's, it's still plenty of par 5s. You need to, in my opinion, possibly look at stacking some of the courses up, like taking some teams that are everyone starts on Monterey, or everyone starts on Spyglass, or everyone starts on Pebble, and building like that, because I think there will be a course on a given day that plays much harder or much easier. It doesn't have to be for every team, but is that a strategy that you might employ on some of your teams?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could shoot a text message. What's interesting about this is Pebble Beach is on one side, and generally the fog, you're going to have a marine layer that sits on the other golf course, that being Spyglass Hill. So it can be a little bit different from spot to spot, even though they're literally right next to each other. MPCC as well. These are 3 golf courses that are very close knit, close to each other there. But you're going to probably get a certain wind direction that might be able to help a little bit. It's always coming off the ocean. I know, just thinking through Spyglass, that first stretch 1 through 6, it would be, can be very, very demanding if you get a strong wind coming in on that particular day coming off of the ocean. You get 1 par 5, it's generally pretty gettable, but coming down around the bend, 2 straight up, 3 par 3 that's dead into the wind, but has like a 40-yard elevation drop. Difficult little stretch of golf that you could run into at Spyglass Hill. Pebble Beach, I think, just being as flat as it is, you generally don't have one prevailing wind. Like I think the toughest stretch on the golf course there is going to be 9, 10. Those 2 specifically, I guess you could throw 7 coming off of the ocean there, but because of the way that the golf course is designed, you get so many different wind directions there. I don't think there's a predominant wind for that golf course. And MPCC is the one that I'm the least familiar with out of the 3. But I can tell you from just looking at the numbers, it's going to play the easiest out of all of them year in, year out. So I think for Showdown, I'm going to be looking at playing a lot of MPCC heavy builds.
Yeah, for Showdown, I think that's definitely the course you need to score on. Par 71, but there's 4 par 5s. You just take that apart. What skill sets do you think translate over 3? Are these, you need your putter, you need your irons. Can you be an aggressive bomber of the ball? Is it more technical? Like, do you look for some overarching themes that you say, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and this is how I'm going to build my lineups?
I think that this is, and maybe this is just because I've come around to Jordan Spieth in the last year and a half or so, but around the green is very fascinating to look at. I think it can be a loud statistic from course to course for me personally, but I think out here, because of how small the green sizes are, you get around 34 to 3,600 square feet per green. It's one of the smallest setups that you're going to have in terms of green surfaces on tour. Around the green is something that I give a bump to, and I rarely look at going that direction here, but it's very tough to be getting up and down when you miss some of these greens. You kind of short side yourself by default, especially over at Pebble Beach, where you have a lot more of your data. I'm looking at a number of these spots where it's just going to be tough for golfers who aren't crisp with irons as well. So I'm looking at that being a big part. And while the greens are super small, the fairways are generally very forgiving out here. Above average clip, nearly 75% of fairways getting hit for golfers over the course of the last 10-year sample size that we have out at Pebble Beach. That is me throwing out the US Open, by the way, because they narrow it down, make it play more difficult. I never really look at that as a crossover, because they're just two completely different golf courses. We have shorter rough, shorter situations for Pebble in this spot, but I like a little bit more short game. I like obviously long iron play, because you're going to have some of them out there. And if you are just competent off the tee, you should be in good shape.
Yeah, I think for me, par 5 scoring, even though they're short courses, you need to take those apart. Whether you do it with 3 shots or 2 shots, you just need to score on those. And then just kind of figuring out how hard is it going to be. Will the wind play a big factor? It is a Pro-Am, so usually the pin locations are relatively easier, just given what we're seeing. I think stars and scrubs becomes a little better because you're not as punished for a miscut. You only lose 18 holes at Pebble Beach as opposed to 36 at a normal tournament. So we're going to see that. And I think that's really it for me. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel, do you? It's a tournament where you need to play well. Scores will be pretty good. And if the wind is up, it'll be a lot more difficult than people expect.
Yeah. And I think underneath there's certain, like the given setup that we have at Pebble, the one mistake people are going to make or have made in the past looking here is taking into account anything that happens at the US Open. I just don't do it. They're not even remotely the same. This golf course, Pebble Beach, is going to play sub 7,200, sub 7 south. It's a very short track. You have, Monterey MPCC. You've got 6,900 for the short course out there, 7,000 for Pebble. You get so many different types of players. Obviously, Dustin Johnson has murdered this event in the past. He's a bomber, but he's an all-around phenomenal player. And there's just so many different types of players that can be successful out here.
Yeah, I think we're all on that page, and we'll see. We'll see what the wind looks like. Right now, it looks very calm. We'll see the pairings. We'll see where these guys are positioned, and we'll dive into it. But let's get to the players, because we've got, it's not like the Farmers. Patrick Cantlay leads us off, betting favorite. He's like 7-1. You've got Will Z, who obviously was great last week. Berger, who
he withdrew.
What?
I think Will Z withdrew.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
Let me double check.
He withdrew.
I saw something about that yesterday.
Yesterday, I did shows.
He withdrew. Yeah, he withdrew this morning. 44 minutes ago. Sorry.
Well, okay.
So you can't lose a future on him this week. And by the way, he did hit 2 good putts. Putting's the worst part of his golf game, but anybody who's putted on Poe out here in Southern California in the afternoon, it's crusty. It is tough to make putts. So
there we go. Will Z has COVID. Well, if you do watch my Pat Mayo appearance, we didn't know that when we filmed that. I'll just set that now before people message
Breaking
me.
News by me. I did 1 hour of research, and here you go.
Okay. I was doing the NFL show. Will Z is gone. Now we only have, this is very interesting. We've got 3 names north of 10 now. Cantlay is on an island. He's $700 clear of Berger, who has a potentially bad back. I think we're all wondering about how that looked. He's in the field, all systems go. And then you've got Jordan Spieth, who I stupidly tried to get at the Farmers. Not a good course for him. He loves this event, though. So what are your first impressions of the very top of the board?
I think, obviously no Will Z makes it very different. As you said, Cantlay's now on an island, but I mean, how do you not like Patrick Cantlay out here? I mean, he's one of the top 5 players on planet Earth. And I don't really even think there's an argument against that based off of what we saw last year. It was only a matter of time. He had a lot of things years ago that played into a little bit of a loss of form, and now it's there. You're just looking at a massive third and an 11th. He's gone 5 for 5, making cuts out here. 2 top 10s, as I said there. It's ridiculous the amount of course history that he has here, but that's what he does in California. That's what he does in Northern California. He just plays phenomenal golf. I think he's clear above and away the guy that if I could get to anybody, I want to play him. But Jordan Spieth out here too. I mean, I'm looking right now. We have 7.7% projected ownership, and I don't want to go too far into that because it's not really solid yet. And taking Willsey out of the tournament is definitely going to shift some of that ownership. We're going to be on the show again tomorrow. I'll save some of that, but I find no holes in anything that Patrick Cantlay does to not make him clear and away the best player to get to.
Yeah, I do think Willsey changes some of the narratives around Cantlay for me. I was going to get to some, but I might get to a little more now. Spieth, it's interesting. He's lost in 4 straight events with the irons, and that is a concern. But I will say, and I did mention this with Farmers, I really think that when he doesn't putt, it's not really a great indication of what you're getting, because if Spieth doesn't putt, you're not going to get a good performance. And he lost 2.3 strokes on Torrey South. So I'm not really that worried about that. If I play Jordan Spieth here, it's because I know that, or I'm expecting he's going to have a really good putting week and a really good around the green week. That's what he does when he's successful. But are you looking to maybe go Cantlay Spieth in the same lineup?
I think I probably could. And what's fascinating too is last year he finished 3rd and he didn't even really gain anything with the putter. 0.2 strokes gained putting. He's very comfortable out at this golf tournament. I mean, we're coming off 2 consecutive top 10s for him. He finished 45th in 2019. He was fighting it, obviously, towards the end of that, or at the beginning of that season for sure. But 2020 lost to some capacity for him. Like it was for many guys. But 2021, we found kind of a renaissance with him. And this is definitely one of the spots where if I'm going to be factoring a little bit more around the green game, there's really nobody else that I really want to have getting up and down around greens, small greens, than a guy like Jordan Spieth. So I think that there are going to be some builds that I probably get to the 2 of them. Obviously, you don't have Willsey, who I haven't even been invested in, period, so far this season, obviously to my detriment last week. But I'm looking at Cantlay, Spieth, and then you can really kind of scattershot the low 7s. I think that there's some interesting builds, interesting guys there. Upper 6s. I mean, there's one guy, and again, I'm apologizing to the universe. We'll obviously get there, but I want to kind of stick with one of them, but I'm sure I'll get to some 2 in 150s.
And we're going to talk about those guys in due time, but let's keep working down a little because again, 3 options north of 10. We'll see what the ownership shakes out. These are all the tools that we have here at Awesemo. Why you want to get inside the glass, of course, because the ownership will tell the tale, the projections, and Alex does a great job with that. But Jason Day is 9,900. Jason Day is absolutely even when he's bad during the year, he seemingly comes here and he plays good. He's had 5 straight years of T7 or better here, and he looked great last week. He gained 3.9 strokes with his putter. He looked healthy. Are we just chasing the allure of what Jason Day, what we want him to be, or do you think we really saw something there and you can start lineups with him at 99?
I mean, he's the hardest guy for me to figure out what to do. And I mean, Seamus Power is somebody that you had talked about at Sony brilliantly, may I add, about how price considered it was something where Seamus Power was the best point per dollar play that you could possibly have at the range he was at. He's up to 9,400 now. I would say the same thing about Jason Day. We've been able to play him at 7,300 and 7,500 the last 2 weeks. And I've been ecstatic to do such things. 9,900 is a different conversation, but it doesn't change his ceiling. Like, it's the same thing in NBA DFS where, you could change like a Tyrese Halliburton with no De'Aaron Fox and, all of a sudden he's 8,500 or 9K or something, but it doesn't change the fact that he could go out and just win a golf tournament, that he could just go out and have a ceiling performance. So if you had to play him anywhere, like any golf course on planet Earth or any tournament that you needed to have Jason Day play well, you would pick this one. So it becomes very difficult to say, I don't find any interest there. I think right now at 11%, I would be over that. And it's really uncomfortable, especially knowing how much Maverick McNeely interest I have. But I think the field might be really coming around to that guy too now. And that just makes me want to maybe side with Day a little bit more.
So our ownership, we'll see how it matures, because I'm a little surprised coming off that performance, coming off years of course history, that he's not going to be more popular than that. You do bring up a good point. Spieth, Berger, McNeil, like there are guys right next to him that are going to garner ownership. Maverick was second here last year. He's got the all-around game to do it. He's going to be, we'll get to one and done later in the show. These are one and done selections for a lot of people. So what do you do with Maverick? I mean, are you going to start some lineups with him potentially? Or is that a little too thin? He's expensive, but it's probably warranted at this point.
Yeah, he lives on the golf course. If nobody knows, he's an absolute billionaire. So that's fun to come from billionaires. That would be enjoyable. But I've talked about his talent constantly, and I believe in him. Now, 9,800 is not what you would have in a normal full field event, but this is obviously a little bit thinner once you get outside of this 9K range. I think they did a really good job of pricing some of these guys up, because if Maverick continued to also be in that low eights, mid eights, I mean, it would just be a joke how easy it would be to click on him. So aggressively pricing up Day and Maverick really makes you have to make some decisions in this range. As I said, at their current ownerships, what they would be looking at here right now, I think Jason Day would be the priority over the two. I've just seen it longer, more frequently with Day, but I mean, Maverick's my guy. It's hard not to have some shares. I think he's going to end up garnering a lot of attention too. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We get the opportunity and the privilege and the honor of being able to do this back-to-back days. So I don't have to be firm in any of my stances here right now, but obviously two players you should have a lot of interest in.
So talk to me about the rest of the 9K range, because when I look at it, to me, Matthew Fitzpatrick would be the guy that would be the guy who's most lost, he hasn't played this year. He's been terrible here. Seamus, Tringale, Streelman, these guys either love the course or they've been killing it lately. Do you play the ownership game and buy blindly on Fitzy, or do you stick to kind of what you think with some of the guys who've been doing it for years here?
Normally you would think Fitzy, this would be like a phenomenal course. I agree. Right? Like, but it's so tilting that, it's something, and he's garnering quite a bit of attention. So maybe that's something that you go light on. But when you think about a golf course setup for Matthew Fitzpatrick to be successful, you think of shorter, not necessarily having to thread the needle off the tee, but then just having to be immaculate with the putter, immaculate around the greens, and pretty darn good long iron players. So Matthew Fitzpatrick kind of checks all the boxes of a player who should have better stats around this track than what he does. So I think blindly might buy into just the skill set. Maybe he kind of falls into some of those prototypical builds. I mean, you could pair him with a Brian Harmon. I think that that's a similar skill set. You could fit it with some of these other guys. I guess Brian Harmon, a little bit better driver of the golf ball, but still, I think that those are the kind of guys, shorter knockers, pretty darn good long iron players, really, really hot with the putter occasionally. So I think that you're fine getting to some Fitzy, but you can't play everybody. And all of these guys being priced up really makes you have to draw a line in the sand on who you're going to get to more. I think at 20%, I'm still going to get to some, but definitely not to the field.
Fitzy is a guy, and there's a lot of this, that if he is under-owned, I'm okay buying blind on him. I'm okay with that, because course fit and course history is both very noisy, but to me, course fit is more important. And there's nothing in Matthew Fitzpatrick's game that I see it why he wouldn't like these courses. And the results have not bared that out, but that's fine. It's only been a couple of times. I think long-term, if he plays this course 10, 15 times, he's going to have some big time results at this event, because he's suited for this. So I'm going to get to Fitzy. I don't think I would want to start my lineups with him. Now, once again, this is what the caveat. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick is going to be towards the lower owned guys in this range, considering we haven't seen him. But if the ownership doesn't bear that out, I'll have to retool this tomorrow night. Last guy I want to ask you about is Kisner. What do you do with that? Flat 9.
I'm probably not going to. I mean,
okay.
God, he's been so good at the beginning of the year, but 2 golf tournaments, maybe he has flipped it. Maybe he has. I don't know. I mean, 10% is pretty low. Again, a guy who does it a little bit differently. You just can putt the lights out of it from time to time. I mean, strokes gained putting 8th in the last 50 rounds amongst this field, but not very good with his irons. Not going to be somebody that I want to get to in any kind of a major capacity. Just an outlier. I mean, if you look at any kind of strokes gained data, mean, he's just bright right across the screen outside of his short game. So maybe the ball striking is going to flip. Maybe that's going to be something that long-term happens. I think I'll let other people go that direction. It really was, I mean, off the tee was abysmal at Century, and you should not be abysmal off the tee at Century, considering of how wide and easy it is to be driving it out there. But strokes gain approach, I feel pretty good that that's not going to continue at the same clip. So two greens in a row coming off of one of the worst ball striking years you could possibly imagine, and outside of the Wyndham, which he won, of course. So Kevin Kisner, probably not for me.
8K range, Ryan Palmer, Lanto, Bez, who I think fits the score as well. Just a laundry list of guys that are PGA Tour regulars that, to me, feel a little overpriced. Nature of a weak field: Harmon, Hoagie, Mac Hughes, Mito, Denny McCarthy. It's just a weird range to me. I think, and I want to get your thoughts on this, a lot of people are going to go bunch of 9K guys, bunch of 7K guys, and this will be a dead range. What do you see from the eights? Where were you first drawn? First impressions? Floor is yours.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of Bez for sure. I know that's somebody that our colleague Jeff has brought up a number of times in the betting article and been talking about. And I do like some of the things that kind of factor into his golf game here. So strokes gained, short game first amongst this entire field. I mean, we know how good of a putter he is. He's one of the top putters on planet Earth. Around the green, no slouch either. You know, he's going to be top 30 in this field, but off the tee has always been his bugaboo. And now you're looking at a golf course that should not really matter. Even if you're missing fairways here, as long as you're not in the ocean, which might be a big if for Christian Bezuidenhout, but 122nd strokes gain off the tee over the course of his last 50 rounds amongst this field. And, you know, that's bad, but you can get away with it here. The rough's short. It's set up for some amateurs as well to come along for the walk. So I think that this might be a really nice spot to be targeting him at 8,700. I think Lanto Griffin, I mean, this is just so weird also seeing some of these guys so much more expensive than normal, but I think there were some good signs of what we saw at the Farmers. Obviously, he played really well at the Amex, so that's the main reason that I think he's getting priced up to where he is. But around the green's been solid, and the irons have been really crisp to start off the season, coming off of his first really nice outing with the irons in a long time at the RSM. It didn't result in a good finish, but if that continues to be trending up, I think that this could be a really, really solid golfer to invest in the 8K range too.
I'm with you, Lanto, Bez. I think you can make a case that you could bet these guys. They're sitting in like the 40 to 50 to 1 range. It's a weak little range to me. I don't have a ton to say. I'm indifferent to guys like Tom Hoagie. I think Mac Hughes is another guy who should play better here than he has. He's got the game to do it. He's just like Spieth in my mind. But I want to ask you about Mito. I mean, Mito's a guy, he's always very popular, but he's also pretty, you know, for someone who just kind of got experience on tour, he's very, very consistent. He doesn't miss a lot of cuts, puts in good performances. The price seems more than fair, even though we still don't know a ton about him.
I'm not really sure what to make with him because the key statistics, obviously, if he goes out and he hits his irons as well as he is capable of hitting his irons, he can probably compete at any given time here. We saw him on the Corn Ferry Tour just really be successful towards the middle of the summer last season. You know, he was rattling off back-to-back victories there back in June, and he's really kind of shown some decent form from time to time. No slouch. He definitely has some top 10 equity. I mean, he might be a bet for me as well. You're looking at Barbasol, 3M, Fortinet. That's kind of the type of field you're looking at here. Obviously, a little bit more top-heavy studs just in Cantley, Spieth, and guys that have played this golf course well. Streelman, who we didn't even talk about, and he's got great course history here as well. But looking at him specifically, Mito, I'm fine. It's just this short game around the green. The putter's been really good the last 3 weeks, or, you know, coming from the tail end of the fall. If that's going to continue, I mean, you're looking at a guy who has been consistent, probably some top 10 equity there. I'm talking myself into the moment of playing a little bit of Mito, I think.
I'm not saying I'm not going to play him. I'm kind of indifferent. Put him with some iron players. I'm actually going to Denny McCarthy, and that's not something I say too often. Who doesn't do that? But the guy is the best putter in the world, and I think that obviously can translate. What's there say? He's made 6 straight cuts. He's gained 4 strokes putting in 3 of 4. He just needs to be average with his irons, and he's been doing that in recent weeks. 6th at the Amex. He's got a couple reps at this tournament. Not good reps, but nevertheless, he did play in the format. 8,200, he can get crazy hot. I'm going to take some flyers on Denny McCarthy in this range, and it's mostly because I don't love anything else. Charlie Hoffman is in the field. He didn't play last week. Any thoughts on him at 8,100?
He's played this golf course well, like better than I would expect based on the skill set. I mean, he had a 7th last year. That's kind of specifically what I know about him, but I'm okay with if you wanted to make it happen. But once again, we can kind of make a case for a number of these guys in this field. If you're 8K or above, there's generally going to be some sort of a case to be made that, you know, in this relative field strength size, like there can be a case made. I'm not going to play guys like Ryan Palmer. I'm not going to play guys probably like Charlie Hoffman here, but you know, it mainly is the around the green game that I don't trust. You're going to miss greens from time to time out here. And it's just kind of keeping that together, keeping your round together so you can take advantage of these par 5s, make a lot of birdies. Obviously, number 2 at Pebble, converted par 4 for the US Open, going to be a par 5 here. You get a couple of those type of holes that you just have an opportunity to score a little bit more. And Charlie Hoffman, maybe he can get it rolling to this week, but 8,100, I think I do like Denny McCarthy, Mito, then my boy Aaron Ride. There's just a number of guys in this range I'm more likely to click on.
It's not going to be a range that I land on a ton, but if I have lineups that I need someone there, I think that you can find at least a couple guys that are playable. And that's, as you mentioned, there's still good players in this part of the range, even in a weak field. So it's not that hard to make a case. When you're splicing it up amongst 3 different courses, you won't have that many options if you are stacking the courses and stuff. So we'll see who's with who and we'll kind of just move on and see what we're doing. But all right, before we get to the 7s, I will say it's a little Tuesday afternoon, very casual show. If you can hit that like button, if you're just new to the community or you want to support us, we appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, press that subscribe button. We're at 72,000. Not bad. We're going to be marching towards 100K in no time, and it's because of you guys. We obviously want to grow the channel and grow the community. That's what makes these shows fun and why we do them. Aaron Rye, your boy, is showing some life, man. You got him, you've got Glover, you've got Knox, Min Woo Lee, who Chad has already asked about. Weird upper 7K range. Talk to me about it.
Oh yeah, no, I loved Aaron Ride not cashing that top 5 either. That was fun. I forgot about him. Yeah, I had 3 guys knocked out by that Jason Day disaster, but I could have just bet Jason Day and been happy, but that didn't happen. I'm looking at the top end here, and there's really nobody else that I'd rather click on in this range. I mean, Michael Thompson probably fits the type of golfer we're looking at for this golf course as well. He's played this golf course a lot back in the day. I mean, he's coming off of a decent finish here where he might get some attention here. He played really well at the Sony, obviously, and was more popular than what I was expecting him to be at that event. But Aaron Rye, 7,900, definitely going to be my priority dude. Just gets it done with the irons, really good off the tee. For me, the key thing is just seeing some trending up with the around the green game. And, 1.6 strokes gained around the green at the Farmers, 2.4 strokes gained putting. Obviously, you're running into POA, you're running into some of these type of surfaces. I believe you're playing bent. I can't remember which one of them. I think it's Spyglass, but I don't recall. But that's exactly what you had with the North and South course, where you had bent on the North, and then you're playing POA for the green surfaces on the South. Same kind of deal. Hopefully back-to-back weeks, he can keep it going around the greens for me.
I have no problem with Rye. I like Lucas Glover. Just know a little more about him. Consistent. He's made 7 of 8 cuts. He's gained off the tee in 7 straight. He's gained with the irons in 7 of 8. Putter comes and goes, obviously, with him, but I kind of just know what I'm getting. So I'm comfortable with that. Chad has brought up Andrew Putnam. I get it. I definitely see where you're coming up with that. 6 of 7 made cuts. Everything checks out. I think it's a good course for him. He's weak off the tee. That'll be negated here. No good results here, but that's not an overly bad deterrent. What do you think about Andrew Putnam, or do you see yourself going elsewhere?
I see myself going elsewhere. I mean, there's a guy $100 more in Chris Kirk that I just don't see a way that I don't roster a lot of here. A decent course history, obviously coming off a 16th from last season. He missed the cut in 2020, 2019. I don't think he played the event, but like we're looking at a guy that in the past, obviously has a large sample size on tour. The guy is just kind of getting right. And I know that he went through a lot of issues 2 years ago, and he's kind of shown the ability to be on the other side of that now. And it was okay towards the end of the season, but we were looking at a really, really hot start to the year for him here in 2021. I think that he's going to kind of fall back into some of that form, just an all around really good player, really good around the greens. The putter's always questionable from time to time, but just too solid of a player. 7,700 feels like he's one of my favorite point per dollar type plays here for this kind of a week. I just find it hard to believe that he wouldn't just burn you this week. I think he definitely is somebody that's going to be viable to win this golf tournament come the end of the week if he plays well.
Listen, Chris Kirk is kind of, in the Glover bucket for me. I think he's fine, can do what he does with the irons. Putter comes and goes. But I will say, in our premium betting article, one of the many that we have on the site, my guy to win this tournament, and I'm not saying this is the guy who's going to win, but one of the bets I have already put in is 65-1, Matt Kuchar to win this tournament at 7,600. I think this is a pretty good spot for Kuch. Obviously, not a great 2021 season for him. And he's found something during swing season. 36th, 35th, 22nd, 37th to finish the year. Then at Sony, he comes in 7th and he gains in all 4 categories. He's played this event a million times. He's got the game for it. The price is right. I'm betting Kuchar and I'm playing Kuchar in the mid 7s.
Yeah, I don't see
Come on in. The water's warm.
Dude, he's just so hard. I mean, this is where being a DFS player and a casual, I'm not casual, I'm a diehard golf fan. This is where I kind of have an issue because Matt Kuchar is the kind of guys that, if it's not on, it just feels like more than ever, there's just some give up in his golf game that has never really been there before. Normally, we think of him as the guy who's a penny pincher. He's the dude who goes out and absolutely stiffs his caddy and doesn't give a shit about other people and is just one of the least liked guys on tour amongst his peers. But what he does is he putts the ball really, really well from time to time. He gets up and down out of garbage cans. Like, this is the kind of golf course kind of set up these 3 tracks and Pebble Beach specifically, where I think you could definitely see him be very, very successful. So I don't completely hate it. I just completely hate him.
Yeah, I mean, I roster a bunch of people that I don't like.
Oh yeah, Patrick Reed's your boy.
I do think Tokyo and chat brings up a good point. Betting Kuchar, but I'm gonna have to wait and see on his ownership for DFS. I agree with that. So I have already bet him. I'm definitely gonna play him in DFS, but if he's like nosebleed popular, I might not have great leverage on him because this is a high variance situation. There's a lot of names right here. I do think that Kuchar's got some win equity though, relative to it. Then you get a couple of bombers. You got Killer Keith, Cameron Champ. Damon's not a bomber, obviously, but Ned's not defending champ, former champ. If it starts to get a little thin in the lower 7s, Neesmith is supposed to be very popular relative to the range. Is there anything that you're drawn to as we start to work down towards, we're in the long shot-esque range now?
Oh, I'm playing Brandt Snedeker. I'm absolutely playing Brandt Snedeker out here. We can't like all of this type of skill set, these short knockers that get up and down everywhere. I mean, he falls into the exact mold as like a Matt Kuchar in that kind of a regard. And I wish he had put up a better result. We've seen him play Torrey Pines really, really well. He actually probably played one of the best rounds of golf I've ever watched in my entire life. In that final round at Torrey Pines, what was it, 3 years ago? It was ridiculous how well he played relative to the field. It was windy, crazy. I was expecting a better result from him, but also it was pretty perfect out there. And I haven't looked too much at the weather here. It's still Tuesday, kind of get a firmer grasp on it tomorrow. But if it gets a little breezy from time to time here, Brandt Snedeker is a guy that can definitely perform above expectation in that kind of conditions. I think that this sets up as a golf course. And I know he missed the cut last year, going back to 2020, missed the cut there too. Not the best course history, but just feels like the type of the type of golf course similar to Matthew Fitzpatrick, where I would expect him to have better results than he does.
I mean, Sneds is the type of guy, even at courses that he loves, he throws in some bad ones. He's a good win equity player and not a great cut maker, in my opinion. So I don't really worry about that. And even last week, he was trending upwards. Sony, Amex, really good. A lot of people, I think, at the Farmers were interested in him, and he was not good. And now some of that allure is worn off. I don't have a ton that I like. I like Kuchar. I think Putnam makes sense. We talked about Kirk, Glover, those guys. as we work to the bottom of the sevens, I don't have a ton that I like. I think there are flyers like Thigala, obviously for me, Troy Merritt. Is there a name that Scott Stallings loves this place? Like, do you find yourself going to those type of players?
I might like it a lot more than you do. I mean,
Okay,
Thigala is a guy that I've just been talking about
you
forever.
have.
Because I played with him and he's very good and better than all of us at golf. So we should roster him. I've played with the likes of Canley, Shoffley back in the day in San Diego, and like Thigala is them. Like he is one of them. So he didn't do anything differently. And again, you play with that caliber of a player, and sometimes you can be a little bit blinded by oh well, I'm a good golfer myself. No, Thigala is just way better than what I could ever be in a million years if I played every day. So like that's a guy that I'm just biased towards, and I'm going to continue rostering. Taylor Pendrith is a guy that I have a lot of interest in as well. Coming off of a 16th, I think that there's a number of these guys that, he can be a really hot putter from time to time. His irons are horrendous from time to time, but I'm starting to see some signs of life here. I didn't know really what we were getting out of him. He was a guy that had a decent finish in Bermuda, had shown up some results in some of the weaker field events, but coming off of a decent season on the Korn Ferry Tour, it was nice to see him gain 3.4 strokes with the approach at the Farmers. That kind of stuff can translate a little bit. And, Jason Day plays Torrey Pines well at this. Well, I'm looking at Taylor Pendrith. We don't really know what that's going to be here. We have literally no sample size with him on tour, but I think he's a guy that could just be it. Canadians' great hope. Like I think Taylor Pendrith, not that I'm going to put him in the, do I even say Eckroat yet? I don't want to say that name yet, but I definitely see Taylor Pendrith being a pretty good player on tour for years to come. Not elite, not one of the best, period, but definitely better than what his price tag is indicating.
I think that to me is what this range is about, is the unknown. You've got Burmeister and Matthias Schwab coming over. We don't really know where they fit in on a PGA Tour week to week. You've got Thigala, Smalley, Pendrith, guys that are relatively unknown early in their careers. Then you've got like Piercy, Stallings, Troy Merritt. They kind of, to me, are who they are. They've been grinding on the PGA Tour for a while. So I think you just want to separate what you're trying to do in this range, and you'll have options. But there is, and I don't even know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure it's true, just thinking about it logically. There's only one player in this field who is coming off a win. You know who that is? That's right. You don't know.
I don't know. Who is it?
I'm going to tell you who it is. It's Brandon Harkins.
Oh, you had to do that.
Brandon Harkins won last week on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at he's looking to make it 2 straight. I never thought I'd get a chance to roster him again. I probably will never have a chance to roster him after this week, so I have to do it. He's a great scorer. I'm not sure exactly where he's at, but hey, he won last week. So clearly the game probably in decent shape. And we've seen him play this event. He's made the cut both times. He's looked good both times. Now you could say his game is not at the same level. I think that Brandon Harkins is in play. He's probably going to be overowned just because of the industry talking about him. But come on now. Come on.
Let's do it. I'm cool with that. Let's fire it up. I'd rather do that than we're not down to the 6K range, but I mean, am I completely over this Steven Yeager cat? Yes, I'm completely over this dude. I cannot stand the fact that he's like first in strokes gained around the green, because he is bad at everything else. Apparently, he must be the world's greatest chipper of the golf ball, because I was talking about how you kind of have what was the exact term that you talked? Micro buys in the fall. You know what he wasn't? He was not a correct micro buy for me in the fall. That did not go well. I'm not having fun, and may God have mercy on his soul.
It happens. I mean, when you target guys over a long stretch, you're not going to get them. I mean, sometimes you get guys who are wildly successful, and then you sometimes miss. That's just the nature of doing that. You can't be results oriented. It's just kind of how that goes. And Wyndham Clark is a name that I do think is worth, and Grayson Sigg. Chad has pointed both of them out. I think those are sharp calls. They are in play. Again, made cut equity, not great. Scoring, approach game for Sigg. Clark is a putter and a off the tee specialist, I would say. He's a former Duck for you. So you got that going.
Quack, quack.
There are names, but we got about, 5 to 10 minutes left, and we're going to talk about one and done. Let's start going into the sixes, because you're going to be able to do that. If you double jam north of 10, you're going to have to do that. It's bad, but there are names. Where are you drawn in the 6K range?
Do we talk about Austin Eckler? Do we all tilt that he was 4 under through 8 and then just whatever? He actually played good at South Course, just didn't score very well. It was pretty.
He was fine. I mean, not fine in terms of the outcome, but he didn't embarrass himself. He got cut like a lot of players.
Yeah, he got cut. And I think what was tough was that he got to 4 under through 8, and it was just like stupid mistakes on the North Course. And obviously, I believe he started on the back, and you kind of have that interesting turn through because you get those easy birdie holes. You get that 10-11 stretch, 11, which, Bryson drove his round on the North Course. So I think he got off to a really nice start, and just the wheels kind of came off a little bit, but really good with the irons again. And that's kind of the thing that I've been pointing to with this guy. He is going to be a ball striker. Now, around the greens, he was flat. And if he's flat around the greens, I'm going to just expect that he's going to play very, very well. Now, these are smaller greens. He's going to miss them. Can I get flat with the chipping again? We shall see. That's waiting to be determined. But he's a better putter than the minus 1.2 strokes game putting. He really putted poorly. I watched an unfortunate amount of golf from this guy, but I'm looking at him as somebody that I really want to invest in again. And obviously, I've already kind of drawn my line in the sand with him. I'm not going to back down now.
Well, that's the thing. Again, this goes back to the macro buy theory. If you have done your research on a guy, 36 holes of golf to me shouldn't deter you no matter what he does. Like, if you truly think that this guy is a player, I would play him for 3 or 4 tournaments, regardless of what happens, and then reevaluate. That is how I go about it with certain players. I told you, I couldn't pick out this guy of a lineup of 1, but you clearly have a line on him that you just mentioned it. You've already done your research. I don't think you should be deterred on a guy like that after a couple holes. I do want to ask you, did you get the Twitter slappies coming after you, or did you, because he started good, did that alleviate it?
I would say everybody was like, oh my God, GOAT was the thing that I was getting tweeted at through 8 holes. And then you know what happened? I didn't get anything. I got no love after that.
It's better though to start. So like a lot of times when your guy starts awful, the venom, but if he starts good and then crashes, everyone forgets.
Oh God. We do a 30-minute after lock on the NBA Live Before Lock show. And if somebody does not have 15 fantasy points through 5 minutes of doing that for the half hours after, I get trolled incessantly. And you know what? I welcome it. Come back today.
What else do we got down here? You've got guys like, I'm just going to throw some names out. Kevin Chappell is down here. Mark Hubbard is down here. Cameron Percy is down here. Are you looking to go into the mid 6s, or do you just say this is too unnecessary?
I wouldn't say unnecessary. I think that there's specific guys. Hubbard was somebody that I invested in last week. I had brought him up on the show, and that was just another unfortunate guy. As you said, a lot of guys got cut. This is a different type of field. And obviously he's not 60. I believe he was 6,300 last week. That's a little bit different than paying a little bit more for him at 67, but not really when you look at some of the other jumps that players got. And Hubbard fits that around the green type player who's really good with irons. Terrible off the tee, but you can be terrible off the tee at this golf course. Like, this is what you're able to do, or at these golf courses, plural. I think him, Bo Hostler. I can't do Bo Hostler. I can't advocate
Satoshi?
that, but Satoshi Kodaira, I'm okay with. I've been looking at him a little bit this morning, coming off of an interesting kind of, what would be an interesting summer. Some of these weaker field events, it feels like Barbasol, Palmetto, Byron Nelson, those were all pretty decent results out of him there, but I don't know what happened around the greens with him. We had one positive event here, obviously at the Sony. He can really spike it with the irons. I feel like he's a guy that if he ends up popular for whatever freaking reason, I doubt he does. Yeah. But if there's going to be some people that are just kind of building towards him right now, we only have 4%. I don't think that would be enough for me to get away, but 8-9%, that would be like the highest in the range. Even 4%, I think, is the highest of the entire 6K range that we have right now. So might be looking to go elsewhere in that event, but he fits the mold of like a guy that can really give you some win equity or top 10 equity, should I say. That's all really matters at this number because of that iron play from week to week.
Fair enough. And again, you and me will be back tomorrow live before lock, answering even more of the 6K range. We'll see ownership, we'll see weather, we'll see tee time pairings. So you definitely want to join us there. But let's talk one and done before we get out of here. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of, you could go to Cantlay. I think clearly that's the move. And then to me, like Spieth, Day, and Maverick are like, for the course history angle, going to be very popular. Where do you see yourself going on one and done? Do you look to burn one of the better players? Or are you going to reach for mid-range? How do you go about it this week?
Well, my one and done, my big pool that I'm in, I picked Luke List at the Amex, and I don't even want to get into it. I mean, missing on the guy the week before he wins and then not having access to him is maybe the worst feeling on planet Earth. I think you just have to take one of the top guys. You have to take Cantlay. I think Jason Day would be a phenomenal play. Yep. If you never know what his health is going to be. So I think you just got to utilize him now while he's healthy. And that sounds stupid to say, but like, I think Jason Day would probably be my favorite guy to play in one and done. Jordan Spieth, I think we can probably save him. I'd save him for Texas. I normally do at least, but I think he makes sense. I already used Maverick as well. So I'm already freshy out of that guy. But I'm looking at Maverick. I thought he would play a little bit better in Hawaii, but whatever. I really do like going to Jason Day the most. Is Cantlay your number one no matter what?
No, I don't think so. He's the one guy that I think you have to weigh opportunity cost a little bit, but I think we're all starting to discover, it's only 30 something events. You're going to have plenty of good players no matter who you use, even if it's early in the year. I don't think you need to go crazy about saving guys. If you have one of them penciled in for a major or something, then I would hold them back. To me, again, I'm looking to my strategy in one and done is stay in the hunt. Don't do anything crazy early. And then if I need to do stuff, open it up. I think Jason Day, to me, this is the time to use him if you're going to do it. I have no problem going there. He plays consistently well here. Gained 3.9 strokes last week on the greens. I'm not worried about wasting him. I'd like to get rid of him actually. So I'm going to go to Day. I think Maverick is as aggressive as I would be, and that's not even aggressive at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it was more of, I expect Maverick to play well just going forward here. Right. And I thought getting access to playing him early, I think there's also something to be said about game theory on this kind of a week. I think Cantlay is definitely going to be the most popular guy people use because his win equity is so much higher here than it would be in a regular, like in a major or something. I think there's just certain guys that you want to utilize when you can just feel like you're going to get a win, or, you get like a Rahm 6.5 to 1 type spot. Like you could play Rahm any given week and he's good. I think Cantlay, you could play any given week and he's going to be good. But because of how popular I expect him to be, I think Day's just like clear cut for me, the guy to click on.
Yeah, chalky, but to me, he'll be just fine. So again, we'll see what updates come over the next 24 hours. So you can join me, Eric, and the entire team tomorrow night, live before lock, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you have questions, at JazzRazDFS, at Eric Lindquist. And again, special shout out to Yahoo for sponsoring the show. Tyler behind the glass has been with me all morning on all these shows, doing great work. We're going to duck on out of here. NHL show coming up next, nonstop content here at Awesemo. Good luck, my friends. Enjoy the day, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. Cue up that